You've done everything right. You bought the feeder, you filled it with good seed, you hung it somewhere you can see it from the window, and the birds aren't coming, or they come once, look at it and leave, and they don't come back, and you can't figure out why. Here's what I need you to understand before we go any further. It is almost certainly not the seed. It is almost certainly not the feeder. What's keeping the birds away is something subtler than that, something built into the way birds process safety, threat, and trust. And once you understand it, you're going to look at your yard completely differently. We're going to go through 8 things today. Some of them you'll recognize immediately, some of them are going to surprise you, and one of them, I'm going to tell you right now, is something that people put in their yards specifically to help birds that is actually doing the opposite. We'll get to that one. Stay with me. Because the last thing on this list is the one that changes everything. It's not about feeders at all. It's about something much older than that, and when you hear it, I think it's going to stay with you. Let's start at the beginning. Think about this from a bird's perspective for a moment. You weigh less than an ounce. You have predators coming from the sky, from the ground, and from the bushes. Every single time you land somewhere to eat, you are at your most vulnerable. Wings folded, eyes focused down, and something could be on you before you even register movement. Now look at where your feeder is hanging. If it's out in the open, no cover nearby, nothing to bolt to, a bird landing there has nowhere to go if a hawk appears. Birds won't use a feeder like that consistently, not because they don't want the food, because their survival instinct overrides their appetite every single time. But here's what most people don't know, and this is the part that surprises people. The opposite mistake is just as dangerous. A feeder placed right up against dense bushes is also wrong, because that's where cats wait. Here hawks launch from. Birds need what researchers call edge habitat, cover close enough to reach in under a second, but not so close that something can be hiding right behind them. 8 to 10 feet from a shrub or low branch. That's the window. If your feeder isn't in that window, the birds have already assessed it. They've already decided, and they've moved on to a yard that feels safer. Now, sign 2 is one almost nobody talks about. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it. For a long time, scientists believed most birds had almost no sense of smell. That turned out to be wrong, and the correction matters more than most people realize. Research published in the journal PLOS One found that the chemical compounds in cat urine and dog fur cause measurable stress responses in wild songbirds, even when the animal itself isn't visible. The smell alone signals danger. The smell alone is enough to tell a bird that a predator has been in this space recently. If you have a dog or a cat that goes in your yard may smell, to a songbird, like a hunting ground, even a cat that never catches anything, even a dog that ignores birds entirely. The chemical signal doesn't care about intentions, and there's something even more unsettling about this one. It might not be your pet at all. It could be a neighbor's cat, one that passes through your yard at 3 a.m. while you're asleep, leaving a scent trail you'll never see, that birds are reading every single morning. Think about that for a moment. Now, sign 3 is a mistake I see constantly, and it's made by people who are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. You know feeders need to be cleaned. You've read that. So you clean yours. You use dish soap, maybe bleach, and you scrub it out thoroughly. And then the birds stop coming for a few days. That's not coincidence. That's cause and effect. Birds are sensitive to chemical residue in ways we don't fully appreciate. Soap left in feeder crevices after rinsing leaves a scent and a taste that birds find aversive. Strong bleach that hasn't been completely rinsed does the same. And wet seed put back into a damp feeder, starts growing mold within hours. Here's what that mold does. Birds that eat from a moldy feeder feel sick. And birds that feel sick after visiting a location learn to avoid that location, not just that day, permanently. Cornell Lab of Ornithology recommends 1 part white vinegar to 9 parts water, full rinse, complete air dry before refilling, not damp, dry. You were trying to help them. The method was working against you. But sign 4. Sign 4 is about something you do every single day without realizing its effect. And it might be the simplest fix on this entire list. Birds don't feed randomly. They have windows. Early morning, within about an hour of first light, is the heaviest feeding period for most backyard species. Late afternoon before dusk is the second. In between, activity drops significantly. Now think about your morning routine. If those windows are when your yard is most disrupted, the dog going out, the car starting, the kids leaving, the lawn equipment running, birds learn that your yard isn't calm when they need it most. They don't fight it. They don't wait it out. They simply find a yard 2 streets over that is quiet at 6:45 in the morning, and they make that their yard instead. You don't have to change your life, but if you can give the yard 30 quiet minutes in the early morning, delay the dog, skip the car startup near the feeder, you will see more birds within days. They have been watching the pattern. When the pattern changes, they will notice that too. Sign 5 is the one that makes people feel like they've been deceived, because the packaging makes it look like exactly what you need. If you're buying a bag labeled wild bird mix from a hardware or grocery store, there is a very good chance it is mostly milo, millet, and cracked corn. Seeds that the birds you actually want will pick through and throw on the ground looking for something worth eating. Here's what that means. The feeder looks full. You think everything is fine, but the birds are going through it, finding almost nothing. Eventually, they stop bothering. And while they're throwing seed on the ground, that pile is rotting, growing mold, attracting rats, creating disease risk for the same birds you were trying to help. Black oil sunflower seed, Niger for finches, safflower for cardinals, fresh suet in cold weather. That's the list. Everything else in a bag mix is filler. Now, sign 6. This is the one I promised you at the beginning. The thing people put in their yards to help birds that is quietly doing the opposite. And when I tell you what it is, you are going to think about every yard on your street differently. Decorative owl statues, hawk decoys meant to deter squirrels, spinning pinwheels, reflective garden stakes, gazing balls. Birds don't know these are decorations. What they see is an unmoving silhouette with the profile of a raptor, or an object that moves unpredictably in the wind, which in nature means something alive is moving, or sudden flashes of reflected light, which in nature means wings banking in sunlight, the wings of something hunting. Research on avian threat response has shown that birds can develop what scientists call area avoidance. They stop entering a space entirely, based on the repeated presence of shapes and movements that pattern match to predator signatures, even when no predator ever appears. The false alarm is enough. After enough false alarms, a yard gets filed under dangerous and birds reroute permanently. That owl decoy you bought to solve the squirrel problem may be the single reason no songbird has visited your feeder in months. Remove it. Move it away from the feeding area. Give it 2 weeks. The birds that stop coming will start reappearing, because the thing their instincts were warning them about is gone. Sign 7 is quieter than all of these, but it might be the most powerful attractor you're missing, and it costs almost nothing. Food is not the most powerful thing you can offer a bird. Water is. During summer heat, during drought, during the hard freeze of winter, when every natural water source is locked under ice, a reliable supply of clean water is something birds will travel significant distances to reach, and once they find it, they come back, every day, with other birds. The sound of moving water is especially powerful. Birds detect it from a distance you wouldn't expect. A small circulation pump in a bird bath, something that costs $20, creates an acoustic signal that carries through the yard and reads to a bird's brain as a fresh, natural water source. That sound is a beacon. It reaches birds that can't even see your yard yet. If your yard has food but no water, you are offering half of what birds are actually searching for, and they are finding the other half somewhere else. That somewhere else is becoming their yard, not yours. Which brings us to the last one, sign 8. And I want you to stay with me for this one because it isn't about feeders, or seed, or water, or placement. It's about something that most people sense but never quite find the words for, and it's the reason some yards feel alive with birds and others feel empty, even when everything visible looks exactly the same. Most of us have yards that look neat, trimmed lawn, leaves blown out every fall, perennials cut back at the end of the season, shrubs shaped, chemicals on the weeds. And to a bird passing over, that yard is almost silent. Dead leaves are where insects overwinter, the insects that chickadees and wrens and nuthatches depend on to feed their young. Seed heads left on coneflowers and black-eyed Susans are where goldfinches feed in January when everything else is buried or frozen. Native shrubs with berries are the reason cedar waxwings stop in your yard at all. A brush pile in the corner, even a small one, is cover, is shelter, is something a wren will investigate every single morning of its life. When we make our yards look like lawns and not like places, we remove what birds are actually searching for. The feeder was always a supplement. It was never supposed to be the whole thing. Here is what I want to leave you with. If you let one corner of your yard go a little wild, leave the seed heads, pile a few branches, stop blowing the leaves out of that one back corner, you will start getting birds that never touch your feeder, birds that have no reason to visit any other yard on your street. Birds that chose yours specifically because yours is the only place for a quarter mile that still feels like somewhere worth being. They're not looking for a tidy yard. They never were. They're looking for something that feels like home. And if you give them that, even a small piece of it, they will find it. They are already looking. Most of what's keeping birds out of your yard isn't dramatic. It's quiet, invisible. A wrong placement, a chemical trace, a shape that looked like a predator. The birds noticed all of it before you did. They noticed, and they adjusted, and they found somewhere else. But their decision isn't permanent. Change the yard and they'll change the route. It doesn't take long, sometimes less than a week. If something in this video made you look at your yard differently, if you know exactly which one it was, tell me in the comments. Because this community has shown me again and again that the most surprising fixes come from the most unexpected places. And if someone you know has been wondering why the birds won't come, share this with them. Sometimes one detail is the whole answer. I'll see you in the next one.